Right then, good afternoon, good evening and good morning gang, depending on where you are watching this. This won't be as long a video as the previous one, chiefly as I'm only covering the one film at the moment, and also the last one I made yesterday evening, 50 minutes long. I formatted it and everything this morning, and as I speak to you, it is now just about 9 hours since it started to upload on YouTube, and it's 72% in. Well, You Only Live Twice is our next Bond film. Now, I'm doing it before I've watched it, so I'm doing it before my forum post, and I'm willing to bet I'm going to differ to what I write. This is the beauty of that sarcasm of what I'm, what I say, the video's purpose. And as you can see, I've actually opened the bottle of wine, the £5 Terre Finet from Morrison's. Now, You Only Live Twice I used to like quite a lot when I was younger. When I started doing my Bondathon positioning, which I think was 2009, and I did between that and 2015, we'll say 4 Bondathons, You Only Live Twice occupied a top 10 position, about 6th, and I think after 2015 it went down to about 14th, 15th. Now, You Only Live Twice, from what I understand, was meant to be on the Majesty Secret Service, but they couldn't find a location for Piss Gloria et al. And we got You Only Live Twice first, whereas the books, they're the other way around. It is vastly different to the book. It is unrecognisable to the book. Be it the fact there's no Castle of Death, there's the space aspect thrown into it. Dick O. Henderson is a poor shadow of what he was in the book, based on a chap called... I'm going to say Robert Hughes or Richard Hughes. Alan Ricker wrote about him in one of his books rather brilliantly, and Ian Fleming would have known old Husey. Husey was a legend. And the screenplay is by Roald Dahl and all this stuff, and it's the only thing it's got in common with the book in some respects, apart from Blofeld, is it's in Japan, and that is one aspect of the film that I quite like. The location is incredible. And of course, there's bits filmed over here, but the Japanese location does all the heavy lifting, really, as far as the film's concerned. And it's kind of ironic in a way that the most famous thing about the Japanese locations is actually made at Old Pinewood, the Ken Adams brilliant volcano set. Now, it's directed by Lewis Gilbert, the first of 3 Bond films that he directed. And Gilbert, he died a year or so ago, great director, and did the job really. He ticked all the boxes. Didn't seem to like Kenneth More despite casting him about 3 or 4 films, but there you go. By all accounts, by this point, Sean Connery had had enough, really. If the cracks were there under the surface, at Thunderball they came to the surface in You Only Live Twice. Famously, they followed, the reporters or whatever followed him into the toilet, and his patience, I think, was snapping. At the same time, this is his 5th film, he's probably wanting to do other things. He doesn't want to be James Bond forever. It is tempting to consider, first of all, what on a Majesty Secret Service might have been like if done in 67, say. Aboard Connery might well have been mismatched for it. Would HMSS have been laden with gadgets like You Only Live Twice? Possibly, because Peter Hunt, when he came around to do an HMSS in, we'll say 68, because the film came out 69, that... well, in early 69, sorry, he said essentially wanted to take Bond away from the gadgets and bring him closer to the books. So, You Only Live Twice, if done in 69. Who knows, we might have got the Castle of Death and Shatterhand and the weird medieval Japanese armour that Shatterhand / Blofeld wears in the book. And even more, maybe Bond escaping with a hot air balloon, a weather balloon, as you do. Instead we didn't, and there's also the debate, what if Connery had stayed on to do on the Majesty Secret Service? Maybe we would have got a new Bond for Diamonds Are Forever. It is an okay film, You Only Live Twice, but it just drags in places. It doesn't feel a rounded product. if the book was a Baedeker's Guide to Japan, then the film is a Fisher Aid of Japan, which is not a bad thing, but it's almost like the film's relying on Japan to an extent to fill it. And Connery does seem disassociated from the film. It's got some brilliant Connery lines, like the whole Peking duck thing in the PTS. He dies on a job. The song is not too shabby, and overall it's one of John Barry's most beautiful soundtracks, either the track Mountains and Sunsets or The Wedding. The expanded soundtrack obviously expanded upon what they had, and 007 in Japan, though it's about 10 minutes long, is a very decent track. They got the film version of the end music when they're on that raft where the U-boat, where the submarine suddenly turns up beneath it. Submarines are known as boats, not ships. And that's something else, the beauty of You Only Live Twice. It's the first of 3 films you see Bond in Navy uniform. Ian Fleming's Bond was a commander, yes, but he served technically in the Royal Navy Volunteer Reserve, the Ravy Navy as they were known in the war, because the chaps, one of their braids was, it was Ravy. And Bond was, by the time he started off in Casino Royale, was already CMG, which is nicknamed in Vital as a Call Me God. And you got the KCMG, Kindly Call Me God, and the GCMG is top, God Calls Me God. Throughout the films, Bond's naval career is sort of mentioned. Roger Moore was supposedly served on HMS Arkwell, which is an aircraft carrier. We've had a few in the 20th century alone. We don't have one now for the first time in about 100 years. So hopefully we'll get Arkwell back. And they've been aircraft carriers now since the First World War. I think the first Arkwell was during Henry VIII's time. That aside, Roger Moore supposedly served in carriers, and Dalton didn't last long enough to have a naval background firmed up. I think Daniel Craig, this is how much attention I've paid to Casino Royale, like he did something in the Navy. Probably head-butted a squid or something, I don't know. But You Only Live Twice, as I said, the first time you see Bond in naval uniform, and even at that, it's mostly for the obituary photo. And I'm kind of tickled by the fact that the Royal Navy, even though in the books M was once 5th Sea Lord, or he turned the position down, it's the fact they've given, and he is head of, I know he's head of the intelligence services, or at least the 00 section, but it's the fact that he has his own office on a submarine, which in those days they still weren't renowned for their space, unlike now. In those days, up until only about 10-20 years ago, submarine crews had to share bunks, day shift first and then the night shift. Now every man has a bunk on the A class. So the sub, which I believe is I've forgotten the class of it, but either way, the Royal Navy say, yeah, sure, stick him on it and bring his secretary too. Could you imagine nowadays? There'll be a parliamentary select committee. The Daily Mail or someone will be up in arms about the expenditure of a Royal Navy submarine with an office and a secretary and the head of the intelligence services, and then would probably just read from a hornblower from a something rather than Tennyson. Don't get me wrong, that's one of the best bits in Skyfall, powerful, and the music, but we'll get to that point hopefully. HMS Tenby is used as the ship Bond funeral happens on, and yeah, I don't mind Kissy, Suzuki and Aki, but they're lacking something. Aki's death is quite powerful. It terrified me as a kid because you see her die rather badly, and people say about Bond going undercover. He did go undercover in the book, in the village, and I assume, even though I don't think Fleming described it, I assume he had to do things, go through things physically to absorb into the community. Bond would have been taller than most of the villagers, and I'm not, but there's that, and Helga, not a bad Bond girl, although Corinne Dor's not a natural redhead, which when I found she's no longer with us sadly, but she wasn't at the time. She was more of a she had black hair, I believe, because she did an Ironside episode where she played Raymond Burr's love interest, curiously. But yeah, redhead fixation being what it is, I was disappointed, to say the least. But Bond has a whole king and country, and it. Some people don't think it's a bit overstated, but one of the best shots is the fight on Kobe docks. That brilliant pan out and the fact you see Bond looking like he's taken them on. The only disappointing thing is that it's followed by Bond being knocked out, and I think Arthur, he got too cocky. He flops all the way down to the bottom, he dusts himself off, he looks around, as soon as he turns around, clonk. Blofeld is alright. Trouble all I can hear in my head is, "Goodbye, Mr. Bond." I think it would have been interesting to have Pleasance in on the Majesty's Secret Service, or at least Diamonds Are Forever. Whether or not he would have handled, they would have. I mean, it would have been a bit cringe, I think, having him. It is cringe anyway, but him trying to woo Diana Rigg. I mean, we've all wished we could. The Piranha Pit, yeah, terrified me as a kid. Nothing like watching people being mauled to their death, and poor Helga. It's a missed opportunity you only have tries. I think if they had done the Castle of Death, it would have worked, but I don't think that. But then you look back and you think, well, a bit much for a film in 1967. This model effect, the work, the visual effects is excellent. They're old Derek Meddens, no doubt, and if it wasn't, it should be. And it's sprinkled with ITC luminaries like Ed Bishop, who ultimately appeared in 2 Bonds, Shane Rimmer, who appeared on screen 3 times, and the 4th time he was dubbing a chap killed in You Live and Let Die. And we'll try and think. Old George Moselle from plays the Russian representative, and I want to say David Healy's in it as well. And how can we forget Little Nelly? She's small, tight, and does the job she needs to. That's not the Crope, I don't care. While I think about it, chaps, Corgi, the die-cast model makers, whatever you want to call it, are looking like they're bringing back a whole new range of Bond cars, including Little Nelly, the DBS, and rather disappointingly, though it looks like they're bringing back the Living Daylights Vantage, but branding it as the Asimov V8 Vantage from No Time to Die, and I've zoomed in and on the image because it's only got one image. It doesn't look like they're packing the skis in, so if you want it's my favourite Aston, don't get me wrong, my favourite Bond car, but I'm used to it with the skis popping. I've got 2 on my windowsill, because Corgi for some reason had brought one out with the license plate was 007, and then they brought it out with the one in the film B, whatever, WUU. So that was You Only Live Twice. Another snip of a film at hour 50 odd. As I said, we'll skip. I'm going to skip watching it because I already did it at Christmas and 2 weeks ago on a month ago on Blu-ray. I've watched so many films this past month. But I'll do a video if I can, ruffle a few feathers, because it's my favourite Bond film. And hopefully a video a day, or at least I'll record a video a day. I'm more or less watching a film a day. I mean, I did From Russia with Love Goldfinger back to back. So we'll see how it goes. If you have made it to the end, thank you. Again, please try and check out, if you can, the Bond and Beyond .forummotion.com website, or Bond and Beyond on Facebook or Twitter. God, I'm schlepping. And yeah, mix it on the forum if you can, chaps. We don't have many people regularly at the moment. No, I'm not trying to undersell it, but the more the merrier. If you don't like George Lazenby, within reason, express your opinion. If you like Timothy Dalton, if you don't want this, you do like this. And we don't talk about just Bond. I mean, we haven't really talked about anything else but Bond lately, but we've got sections, where we talk about the current films. And we're marking, by the way, GoldenEye's 25th birthday, because I'm 35 this year. That's why I got, and it's a Future Kills film. Oh, fuck's sake. Well, I'm not going to bother editing it. Thunderbolt's 55. Golden Gun is 45. Is it? Yeah, sorry, I forgot which year we are. And Future Kill, 35. Yeah, that's it, because there wasn't a Bond film in 2010. Yeah, the beauty of these videos, chaps, is that you get to see my mind, what's left of it, working. Well, whatever, as the great late comic Dave Allen once said, whatever God you believe in, may you go with him.